When I was a kid, I loved watching Crash Course. And I remember John Green talking about the worst year in the history of humankind. And he came to the conclusion that the worst year for him was not the worst year for you or the worst year for anybody. There can never be a worst year, not even in your own life, because you never know what will happen next year. And to be fair, the year when you're going to die is probably the worst year of your life. So that aside, there is so much content on happiness on YouTube, and it's so tiresome, and to be fair, you never want to be there when you're in a rut, when you're feeling like things are not working in your life and you feel that everybody around you is trying to tell you the same thing, which is do something that worked in the past, or double down in your relationships, talk a bit more to other people. That's fine and dandy, but you know, the first thing that you want to do when you are having a bad year or you're having a bad phase, you want to lay down in your bed for 2 or 3 weeks and never move. And that's what's also being known as a depression episode, right? Because there are 2 types of depression. Not going to dive into that right now, but one of them is when you literally don't feel like moving or like talking to anybody else. Like, this is exactly the feeling in your body, like you want to shake everything and everybody off. And I'm not claiming that you would want to watch this video when you're in such a shape, but maybe it will help you after things are a bit better. And the first thing that I want to start with is embrace the suck. Obviously, this is going to be the first point because things have been bad for so many people over such a long period of time, and this is not even about reframing. It's not about saying, hey, you know what, so many people in the past had it so bad, and I'm so lucky and all of that. That's great if you can do it, but typically, if you're feeling like this is the worst year of your life, you don't want to hear about that. You don't want to hear about how lucky you are or how grateful you should be. The best thing that you can do is to sulk a bit and understand, as Sapolsky was saying, if the thing that you're facing is going to kill you or it's a survivable event. And it's also a term in aviation, there are survivable or non-survivable events. And see, most of the times when things will be really, really bad, they will still let you live. And then you have to take care of the 4 walls. Like, you have to take care of your family, you have to take care of your house, your housing arrangements, of the money that you're getting, of what you're eating, of sleeping, and of health. Like, those are the basic pillars. Anything else, it's good, it's nice to have, but right now, if you're in a crisis, focus on the things which are the absolute minimum that you need to live, right? The absolute minimum. And you will probably weather the storm. The second thing that everybody loves to talk about is picking a hobby. Great, fair, but we just discussed that you don't want to move. So the thing that really helps in those situations is novelty, more than an actual hobby. You sort of inherently know what you need to change. You know why you are claiming that this is the worst year in your life. So the best way to approach that is with a novel strategy or a novel thing to do, no matter what it is. Maybe it can actually be a hobby. Maybe if you want, you can pick wine tasting as a hobby, something very easy and very easy to master. I think it's best not to try and focus on learning hard things, or I see something that's been happening a lot in this generation. We've been told that we have to be the 1%, the best lawyers, the best surgeons, the best, I don't know, podcasters or whatever. So what you need to know is that here is where the 1,000 hours saying comes from. You've already heard this if you've been in self-help, that you need 10,000 hours for mastery or to be good at something. That's completely wrong. You need 10,000 hours to be one of the best. You need much less in order to do something pretty well, in order to do something better than 90% of the people. You need 1 or 2 months at most. It's definitely not 10,000 hours. And you can pick something very quick, something very easy, get some small successes. And that's much more important than any other hobby or any other career path than you might try to plow in this situation. Focusing on your career or on changing your career is not the best way to go, unless the career is the thing that makes you feel like this is the worst year ever. In that case, go for it, try to apply to jobs and whatever you need. But another thing, the same thing that also produces satisfaction, the third point is treat yourself or treat somebody that's close to you. It's even better if you're doing that, because see, one of the things in psychology that's been tried and tested over and over was give your subject the following task. Do 3 nice things for 3 people that you know or you don't know. It works in either way. Sometimes you need him or her to do something for the people around him if he feels like he's in a bad, let's say, familial position or anything of that sort. Most of the times you would try to make your subject do something nice for people that he doesn't know, because that produces an incredible effect in those people and also in himself. So it's a double-edged sword, but in the best possible way. If you're treating yourself, it's also fine. Like, you can go, by the way, a great thing, if you're feeling really down and really bad, go for a haircut or a massage or anything that let's say changes your body, like your state a bit. A massage is really great because first of all you have to move from your room to go to the parlor, and then it's incredible because over time you gain a lot of stress in your muscles, and because of your posture and because of your work, and you really need that sort of relaxation up to that point. The fourth thing, you can change your body weight. It's better to try and move as much as possible around. The best thing is to just go outside and get some sunshine. You know about vitamin D and all of that craziness, and about the things that you actually need. Like, you need, for example, in the morning you need melatonin, and actually you need to stop the melatonin to be produced, which means going outside, and you need melatonin to fall asleep. And that leads very nicely to the fifth point, which is don't mess up with your sleeping schedule. No matter what happens, at least your waking up should be the same. I went through some insomnia for the past month, okay, let's say past month. I couldn't sleep until 4, 3 a.m. or whatever. And by the way, here maybe there is a whole discussion about blue screens, about things that you should do and shouldn't do before you sleep. But I will leave that for some other time. The best thing that you can do is to keep an hour when you want to wake up, go for a walk for 30 minutes, and then go back to what you need to do for that day. And in terms of that, you need, the next point is to set realistic goals, and set goals which are not like, I want to market my business, but wait, you don't have a business. Why would you learn how to market your business before actually having a business or anything of that sort? If you are having goals which are impossible to happen, you will become even more miserable, because most of the times for people, when they're in a rut, they're being told, hey, create a list of goals, make them smart, whatever. And that's fine, and you should definitely do that. But you should also have goals that are achievable. As I was saying a bit in the beginning, you need small successes, and that is also a good protection against addiction. Addiction can happen in this phase. Addiction can happen especially with the things that are very close in your house, like alcohol. It's probably the time when most people get addicted. Cigarettes, video games, and sugar or anything of that, because anything can become an addiction if you're doing it way too much. Watching TV shows for 6 or 7 hours for a day, that's also an addiction. That's clearly not healthy. And if you have that dopamine hit because you're anticipating that you're gonna win at something, because dopamine isn't released as a result of actually doing something, but it's released as an anticipation to where you were, then you will feel much less likely to, start playing video games for 6 or 7 hours on end. Because if you're doing that, it will also lead to you getting in isolation. And isolation is never good when you're feeling like you're having the worst year of your life. Isolation, sometimes it helps, okay, but not to that extent, not to the extent of not returning calls or not returning messages or not talking to anybody for 20 days. I know when you are in a depression episode, you don't want to talk to anybody, and it's alright, it's good. If you can manage to talk to one person, that should be a person that can help you. The first person that you need to talk to is somebody that you completely trust and has some knowledge in that field. Maybe a psychotherapist or psychologist, or whatever. Maybe that helps you a bit more than even just talking with friends, but that's also a great way to get back a bit into socializing, because isolation, it's one of the highest predictors of death. People who live in isolation tend to live on average 10 years less than people who have families and are having a good and active social life. We're almost there. Just got 2 quick points, and one of them is a mind dump. I think that's one of the best journaling exercises that you can ever do, and it's not even an exercise. It allows you to put on paper the things that are troubling you, and it's very hard for things to then exist in your mind if you're putting them on the paper. Some of them you will find ridiculous and you will realize, hey, I shouldn't even worry about this. Some of them you will try to solve, and your mind will automatically try to find ways. That's how it worked for me. I'm not claiming that it works for everybody, but having that sort of mind dump when I'm stressed or when I'm in a bad place, it helps me a lot. I will still have things on that list that should stress me, that are terrible, but from 20 or 25, let's say, I will be left with 5 or 6 because I'm just spewing things as my mind thinks them. And for example, I don't know, let's say a broken chair. Okay, I have a broken chair and that stresses me out. I have to buy another one, I have to have some meetings, I don't have where to sit, yada yada yada. Well, guess what? The solution is so easy. And when I will start saying, oh, I'm so upset because of my chair, my brain will be like, yeah, you know what, you can buy a new one. Oh, yeah, you know what, there is a friend that can borrow you a new chair. Or maybe you can ask your office to send you a new chair or anything of that sort. There are solutions, and your brain will automatically try and come up with them. That's at least what happened for me. I cannot vouch for, that everybody is the same, because we're not the same, we're not thinking the same, but this might help. And the last point, minimize the amount of info that you're taking. Everybody's telling you to go into your job, learn more, know more, read more news, anything of that sort. Like, please don't. That only makes you feel more stressed. That only makes you put more pressure on you. It's best to stop tracking the current events for a bit if you're in a very bad situation, if you're in a very bad position. If you're dealing with your worst year ever, you never want to learn about the things that are happening to you. Even if they're extremely positive or extremely negative, they will most likely affect you in a negative way. If there is some sort of positive news about, let's say, a celebrity managed to, get some sort of reward, like won an Oscar, I know that you'd usually be like, oh my god, my favorite actor won an Oscar. But then in those circumstances you will think like, I will never win an Oscar, I will never be that good. And it's not helpful, I'm telling you. The least information that you can get during those times, the better. That's why, as I was saying a bit before with the hobbies, pick something easy, pick something that also you also have to do something with your hands for it, or you have to be in some certain places, or you have to do something that doesn't allow you to compare too much to others. And I think the comparison is the silent killer here. And I think it's great if you can step a bit back from the screens and from the information and from anything from your life. You need a break, and I know that in 1 or 2 weeks or 3 weeks you will be much better, and maybe you won't feel like this was the worst year of your life. But if you still do, I'm sure that you're going through this. Personally, my worst year was when I've lost family members, and I think there's nothing that can top that, no matter how crazy the events are. So you have my full support. If you need anything, just write it down in comments, or if you have other ways in which you've dealt with this in the past or are dealing with right now, I'm more than happy to see it. And with that in mind, we'll see each other again. Not sure when. Things are crazy, things are hectic. Thank you so much, and we'll see each other again, hopefully this year. Bye.